Imagine a young man who considered himself a star on the internet, a camera recording not love, but death, and a video that forced the entire world to ask, was this madness or a macabre show orchestrated for fame? Luka Magnotta was not a monster born overnight. He was a name, a face, an online illusion, who, in his hunger for applause, likes, and headlines, transformed from a human into a story, and from a story into a nightmare. This is not just a tale of murder. This is the story of a world where notoriety has become identity, and where, before the camera turns off, a life is extinguished forever. Childhood. Parents. The foundation of a chaotic world. Born on July 24, 1982, as Eric Clinton Kirk Newman in Scarborough, Toronto, Canada, Luka Magnotta's childhood was shrouded in clouds of chaos, isolation, and mental illness. His father, Donald Newman, and mother, Anna Yorkin, met in school. When Anna became pregnant at 16, they married and moved into the basement of his father's parents' home. Eric, Luka, was named after Hollywood stars Clint Eastwood and Kirk Douglas, as if the family dreamed of a star within him from the very beginning. Family life was unstable from the start. Magnotta's father reported that the initial years were happy, but tensions rose when Anna reconnected with her family. Anna was described as a germaphobe, an excessive and irrational fear of dirt or germs. This fear was so profound that she prevented her children from using public toilets, even making them hold it until they got home when they were out. Her behavior was controlling, and she maintained a tight grip on every aspect of the children's daily lives. The father admitted that he and Anna both had alcohol problems, which added to the family's stress. Financial hardship was a constant companion, forcing the family to move frequently, preventing any sense of stability or security from developing in the children. The family history of mental illness was deep and dark. Magnotta's father was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia in 1994. He testified in court that he heard voices telling him to kill himself. Magnotta's mother was also mentioned as having psychological issues, though no formal diagnosis was made public. This was a dual curse of genetics and environment. After his parents separated when he was about 11 or 12, Magnotta went to live with his grandmother, Phyllis. His father admitted that he went for years without speaking to his children, and that his relationship with his other children was also estranged. Thus, the foundation of isolation, chaos, and mental illness was firmly laid for Luka from childhood. School life, walls of isolation, and social rejection. Luka Magnotta's schooling was far from normal and served to deepen his isolation. His mother, who had dropped out of school before 9th grade herself, insisted on homeschooling her sons. This decision deprived Luka and his brother of the most basic experiences of a normal childhood: playing, fighting, making friends, and developing social skills with peers. His father testified in court. They had no friends. They were isolated, no schooling, no friends of any kind. He also said they were messed up kids and still are. Around 6th or 7th grade, when the family moved back to a Toronto suburb from a small town, Magnotta entered a formal school for the first time. This transition proved disastrous. Suddenly thrust into a social world, this isolated boy had no skills to blend in with classmates. He seemed odd and awkward. His father reported that Magnotta was beaten up and mocked at school. This period nurtured his insecurities, frustrations, and a deep sense of social rejection. He attended I.E. Weldon Secondary School in Lindsay, Ontario, but never became part of the social fabric there either. The school experience remained for him a period of constant humiliation and loneliness, which likely laid the groundwork for his desperate need for attention and recognition in the future. Young life, model, porn, and the creation of a new persona. In his youth, Eric Newman decided to reinvent himself, escaping his broken past. Around 2003, he began working in gay pornography films and also worked as a stripper and escort. However, his success was limited. A staff member of the Internet Adult Film Database said that the porn industry wasn't that interested in him either. In 2005, he worked as a pin-up model under the alias Jimmy for Toronto's Fab magazine, but this was also not a major success. In 2006, he legally changed his name to Luka Magnotta. This name change symbolized the construction of a new, more glamorous, mysterious, and European-sounding persona. He also underwent multiple cosmetic surgeries to improve his physique and auditioned for a TV show called Plastic Makes Perfect in 2008, but was not selected. He was failing to satisfy his hunger for fame, and this frustration drove him to take more unpredictable steps. His criminal record also began during this period. In 2005, he was convicted, under his birth name, of fraud and impersonation for persuading a mentally disabled woman to apply for a credit card to buy over $10,000 worth of goods. The court noted at the time that Magnotta had significant psychiatric issues and did not always take his medication. In March 2007, owing $17,000 in various debts, he declared bankruptcy. Amid this financial and professional failure, he grew increasingly desperate for fame. He created at least 70 Facebook pages and 20 websites portraying himself as a successful model and prominent porn star online. He used multiple false online identities, sometimes to praise himself, sometimes to attack his detractors, sometimes to spread false information for attention. In 2007, he spread a rumor that he was in a relationship with Canada's notorious serial killer, Karla Homolka, hoping the media would interview him so he could deny it, thereby getting his name in the headlines. A former lover reported that Magnotta was desperate to be famous and saw infamous criminals like Homolka and Paul Bernardo as role models. Signs of obsession and violence became clearer when in 2010, Magnotta posted a video titled "One Boy, Two Kittens" on YouTube, showing him intentionally suffocating two kittens in a plastic bag with a vacuum cleaner. This was followed by another video showing him drowning a cat in a bathtub. A group of online animal rights activists, calling themselves the Animal Advocates, conducted deep internet searches to identify him and offered a $5,000 reward. In February 2011, Toronto police began investigating Magnotta in connection with these videos. These online sleuths warned authorities that a person committing acts of cruelty to animals often becomes a threat to humans. Their investigation was later featured in the 2019 true crime documentary. Unfortunately, police took no concrete action on this warning. Planning, creating a grotesque scene and cinematic inspiration. By May 2012, Luka Magnotta's mind was fully engaged in planning a larger, more grotesque act that would deliver the notoriety he had always craved. Evidence suggests this was not an impulsive crime, but a premeditated, deliberate, and creative act. there is evidence that he emailed a British journalist discussing the thrill of killing and his plan to make a video depicting a person's death. This email was sent 6 months before Jun Lin's death, and the graphic video was posted online. It is also believed Magnotta modeled his crime after the 1992 thriller film Basic Instinct, in which a character played by Sharon Stone uses an ice pick as a weapon. The video's title, One Lunatic One Ice Pick, directly points to this. Magnotta also posted online under the name Kirk Trammell, which was film director Paul Verhoeven's birth name. All of this indicates he viewed his crime as an artistic or cinematic performance, reflecting the connection between films and notoriety in his mind. In the weeks before the crime, Magnotta posted an advertisement on Craigslist proposing sex and bondage. It appears he was looking for a victim who would fall into his violent fantasies. During this time, he also began referring to a fictional person named Emmanuel, Manny Lopez, whom he described as a friend or accomplice. It was later claimed this was either an aspect of his dissociated personality or a strategy to evade responsibility for the crime. The crime, staging a nightmare and portraying the victim. On the night of May 24th, 2012, 33-year-old Chinese international student Jun Lin was captured on security camera entering Magnotta's apartment building. Lin was studying computer engineering at Montreal's Concordia University. He was a hard-working and quiet student, living far from his family. Lin was gay, but had not told his family, who lived in China and with whom his relationship was complex. Having recently come out of a relationship, he was using platforms like Grindr and Craigslist. After responding to Magnotta's ad, the two met at Magnotta's second-floor bachelor apartment in Montreal, 5309 Place Lucy, apartment 208. For Lin, this was likely a normal attempt to meet new people and make connections. Little did he know he was walking into a predator's den. On May 25th, an 11-minute video was uploaded to a website called bestgore.com under the title One Lunatic, One Ice Pick. The video shows a naked man, later identified as Jun Lin, tied to a bed frame, being repeatedly stabbed with a screwdriver, initially believed to be an ice pick, and a kitchen knife. The video later included scenes of dismembering the corpse and necrophilia, sexual acts with the corpse. Police later said there was also evidence of cannibalism in the video. This video was not just a record of a crime, but a medium for Magnotta to present himself as an infamous star. After the crime, Magnotta packaged some of Lin's body parts and devised a distorted and public scheme to mail them across Canada. On May 29th, the headquarters of Canada's Conservative Party received a blood-stained package containing a human foot addressed to Prime Minister Stephen Harper. The same day, a package for the Liberal Party headquarters containing a hand was recovered at an Ottawa mail sorting facility. These packages came with threatening notes, stating 4 more body parts had been mailed. Meanwhile, in Montreal, a building janitor discovered a human torso in a suitcase in a garbage pile in an alley. On June 5th, 2 other packages were received at 2 schools in Vancouver, False Creek Elementary School and St. George's School, containing a hand and a foot, respectively. It was later confirmed all these limbs belonged to Jun Lin. Lin's head was later found at the edge of a small pond in Montreal's Angrignon Park. This entire scenario was a cinematic and terrorizing spectacle straight out of a crime thriller. Investigation, global manhunt, and the role of online sleuths. As the horror of the incident unfolded, the investigation intensified. Lin was reported missing on May 29th. When his body parts began appearing and the video went viral online, Montreal police began searching for Magnotta. By May 30th, an Interpol red notice had been issued for Magnotta, launching an international manhunt. Magnotta had fled Canada immediately after the crime. He flew from Montreal to France on May 26th and later went to Berlin, Germany. In the German capital, on June 4th, an employee at an internet cafe recognized him reading news about himself. The employee alerted police officers patrolling the street. When police questioned him, Magnotta gave several false names, but ultimately surrendered, saying, "Okay, you got me." This ended his flight, but also showed he was following his own media coverage. German authorities arrested him, and he decided not to fight extradition to Canada. On June 18th, 2012, he was returned to Canada via a Royal Canadian Air Force aircraft. He was then placed in solitary confinement in a Montreal jail. A unique aspect of this investigation was the role of online sleuths. Members of the Animal Advocates group had not only identified Magnotta for the cat videos, but also helped gather and share information online after the murder. Their actions raised questions about civilian investigation and police roles in the digital age. Also, the owner of the website where the video was first posted, Mark Merrick, was later prosecuted for corrupting public morals, sparking debate over the legal responsibility of those hosting extremely violent content online. Trial: Insanity versus Premeditation and the Battle of Psychiatrists. The trial began in Montreal on September 29, 2014, and lasted 10 weeks. The trial took an unusual turn when Magnotta admitted to the physical acts behind all 5 charges, but pleaded not guilty to murder, arguing he was suffering from a mental disorder. His lawyer, Luc Leclerc, presented a defense of not criminally responsible, NCR, due to mental illness. He argued Magnotta suffered from schizophrenia and was in a psychotic state at the time of Jun Lin's murder, rendering him incapable of knowing right from wrong. The defense called Magnotta's father as its first witness to support its case. He described his son's isolated and troubled childhood and revealed his own diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia. Magnotta's psychiatric reports and medical records were presented, showing he had been diagnosed with schizophrenia as well as borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder. However, Crown Prosecutor Louis Boutillier insisted the murder was premeditated and deliberate. He showed CCTV footage of Magnotta leaving his apartment with several bags in the hours after the murder, sometimes wearing the victim's clothes, cleaning, and buying groceries. He emphasized that Magnotta had planned his escape months before the murder, and his route to Berlin, post-crime, was fully organized. The Crown painted Magnotta as an attention-seeking, needy individual feigning madness. The most interesting part of the trial was the battle of psychiatrists. Defense psychiatrists said Magnotta was in psychosis due to schizophrenia and lacked the capacity to understand his actions were wrong. On the other hand, prosecution psychiatrists testified that while he had severe personality disorders, he was capable of distinguishing right from wrong, and his actions were premeditated. They said his behavior showed histrionic, dramatic and attention-seeking, and narcissistic, egotistical traits, not psychosis. Magnotta himself did not testify, making it harder for the jury to assess his state of mind at the time of the crime. The jury saw horrific evidence, including the highly graphic video. Here, the legal nuance was crucial. Under Canadian law, to prove the NCR defense, it must be shown that due to a mental disorder, the person could not understand the nature and quality of their act. The prosecution argued Magnotta had a personality disorder, which typically doesn't qualify for NCR, not a mental illness like schizophrenia. The jury had to decide which diagnosis was correct and whether he understood his acts were wrong. Sentencing, justice, a family's grief, and the media circus. After 8 days of deliberation, on December 23, 2014, the 12-member jury delivered its verdict. Magnotta was found guilty on all 5 counts, including first-degree murder. The jury rejected the not criminally responsible NCR defense and concluded the murder was premeditated and deliberate. Magnotta showed no emotion, closing his eyes. Judge Guy Cournoyer sentenced him to the automatic life imprisonment for first-degree murder under Canadian law, with no possibility of parole for at least 25 years. For the 4 other charges of committing an indignity to a body, publishing obscene material, criminally harassing Prime Minister Stephen Harper and other members of Parliament, and mailing obscene and indecent material, he received concurrent maximum sentences totaling 19 years. After sentencing, Jun Lin's father, Jun Lin, who had been present at every hearing, delivered a poignant victim impact statement. He said, "In one night, we lost a life of hope, our future, part of our past. We don't want to tell our story because it is too sad to repeat. We can't talk much about Lin Jun without talking about his murder. This murder has deprived us not only of Lin Jun, but also of our ability to think and speak of him without pain and shame." He also revealed that his last words to his son were, "Be careful, son," and he feels bad for not being there to warn him that night. Notably, Jun Lin said he bore no malice toward Magnotta's father, from one father to another. When given a chance to speak by the judge, Magnotta barely audibly said, "No, Your Honor." The Lin family lawyer said Magnotta had missed a chance to express remorse or apologize. During the trial, the media's conduct also became an issue. Many critics said by repeatedly showing Magnotta's pictures and focusing on his model looks, the media inadvertently fed his hunger for notoriety. This is a common criticism of the true crime genre, where the criminal is made into a fascinating character, while the victim's story is pushed to the background. Life after sentencing, prison, marriage, and an unending story. Magnotta was initially held at the Quebec Regional Reception Center and later transferred to the maximum security Port Cartier institution in Quebec. His life in prison is one of limited routine. Reports say he plays video games, takes art classes, and has limited interaction with other inmates. However, he made headlines when in 2022, he married another convicted inmate, Anthony Jolene, in prison. Jolene had murdered his mother in 2014. This controversial marriage sparked public outrage and raised questions about inmate marriage and rights in prisons. His mother, Anna Yorkin, wrote a book titled My Son, the Killer, the Luka Magnotta story. In it, she expresses sympathy for her son and reiterates her belief in Manny's existence, suggesting this fictional person might be the real criminal. The book illustrates a mother's denial, grief, and way of coping with trauma, and how family members reconcile with such horrific acts. Parole eligibility is another significant issue. Magnotta will get his first chance to apply for parole in 2037, after serving 25 years. At that time, the parole board will assess whether he remains a threat to society and has shown rehabilitation. Experts believe, given his severe personality disorders and the heinous nature of the crime, his chances of release are extremely low. However, he can apply for parole every 2 years thereafter. The case of Luka Magnotta is not just the story of a sociopath. It is a profound mirror image of the 21st century digital age. Online persona versus reality. Magnotta demonstrated how the internet can be a platform to create an alternate personality, nurture a hunger for notoriety, and share violent fantasies. He used social media, forums, and websites to build a false image, media, and the cycle of notoriety. This case raised questions about media ethics. By giving extensive coverage to such criminals, is the media inadvertently providing a dangerous blueprint for others? Mental health versus criminal justice. This case highlights the complex line between mental illness and criminal responsibility. It sparks an enduring debate. Should a person like Magnotta be punished or treated? Is the NCR defense a loophole or an essential part of justice? Honoring the victim. Ultimately, this story is about Jun Lin, a young, talented individual whose life ended in a distorted obsession. His family's grief is a constant reminder of the real human cost of such stories. Luka Magnotta's story is a collision of a failed childhood, a sick mind, digital hunger, and a civilization that often fails to distinguish notoriety from fame. It is a warning of how horrific the consequences can be when isolation, mental illness, and unchecked fantasy come together, and when society ignores the warning signs. The walls of his cell are now physical, but the twisted journey of his mind is forever recorded as an unsettling, terrifying question about what truly lies in the depths of the human psyche. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you can be the first to hear about such real-life stories.